This is Just a Bit Outside, presented by WaFd Bank. Join a best bank at wafdbank.com. I'm Michelle Ludtka, and we've got a great show in store for you this week. And let's get it all started by checking in with our experts as they weigh in on this week's hot topics from the sidelines. Joining us now here on Just a Bit Outside, we've got Q13's Aaron Levine, former UW Husky and NBA player Spencer Hawes, and Seattle Times men's basketball beat writer Percy Allen. Thank you so much, guys, for hopping in here to talk all things basketball today.
It's March Madness. It's the time.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't think we'd make it here, but we finally did. I'm so excited. Obviously, Percy, you're in Las Vegas, covering the Pac-12 championship, which at time of taping, games are still going on day one, to not date ourselves here, but a lot of fun things to talk about. I want to jump right in. And the first one is it's been amazing that a year ago, this tournament was canceled after the first round. And here we are a year later, back, being able to see these teams play and compete. And we'll get to some specifics about the tournament in a minute, but just kind of starting off in general, when you look back on this year, overall thoughts on actually having a season and having a tournament this year and having teams being able to play in it with family members in attendance.
Well, I'll start first. Look, I'm a little bit surprised that we made it here, right? Simply because of just everything what we knew back in November when this whole thing started, and the idea of taking sports inside, right? And then just being so close, especially with basketball, that, I thought that there was no way that we would actually make it this far. But look, give a lot of people credit, give the student athletes credit, give the universities credit for putting up protocols in place. And then again, going back to the student athletes for actually following those protocols. That was not tough in any way, stretch of the imagination, for what they had to do, from almost daily testing to like quarantining, and then on top of that trying to go to school, and then on top of that trying to play the sport at somewhat of a high level. So kudos to everyone involved, and man, just a big old hat tip to all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I don't think the Cougs, even though they lost in the first round this year, I don't think they got enough love heading into this tournament, because maybe we should have been calling them the defending champs. Weren't they the last team in Division I basketball to win a game last season before everything was stopped because of COVID? In all seriousness, though, I don't think this tournament itself loses any of its luster. As Percy says, he told me on Sunday night, the only fans who show up every year are the ones from Arizona anyway. These teams have been playing in front of empty arenas all season. They're used to bringing their own energy, not having crowds. I mean, look at the Gonzaga women earlier this week and the dramatic way they won the WCC tournament, a buzzer beater to win it and advance to the big dance. Maybe you don't have that big crowd reaction, but I think it was just as much fun to watch. It reminds us we are in the middle of March Madness. We're going to see a lot more of these types of games down the stretch, and it looked like it was just as fun to celebrate when you're out there with the Zag women punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think definitely I'm taking a glass half full approach to this season, considering I don't really have a team to root for at this juncture. So we're just going to go with glad that, we were able to play a full schedule. We're even having a discussion about how the tournament's going to go and breaking that down. I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that it was only a year ago when everything came to a grinding halt and there was no road out of it. So like you said, Percy, credit to everyone except Larry Scott that we've been able to, have a successful season and have a culmination and crown a champion. And then I guess we'll get back to the narrative of what's happened to Pac-12 basketball at a later time. But for now, let's just celebrate the fact that we're here now and we're going to keep things moving forward.
I love that. And on that note, do you think this go around this tournament for these teams playing in it, does it mean more this year than in years past, because this year it wasn't a guarantee that there would be a conference tournament?
I mean, I think in a lot of ways, the fact that every night you go out and play, you don't know if you're going to be playing with 7 guys, if your star player is going to be down, how long they're going to be out. I think it's almost the opposite of an asterisk. I think there should be a little bump given to the team that is able to kind of survive the battle of attrition and crown themselves champions going into the tournament.
Yeah, kind of hear that same thing, that like just with the uncertainty from just day to day of just not knowing, what it's going to look like, who's going to be with you. And so I guess you come to appreciate it more, right? But then, just going back to like that fan thing too, that, out of all of the sports, right? And I guess we're biased a bit here, because I covered basketball and Spencer obviously played basketball, but it's one thing to have, with Husky football and have 72,000 people, but basketball is just, it's really tied to its fans, and it's so intimate that way. And when you think of March Madness, like you really think of like fans right on top of it and just engaging. And so there's none of that. And so, and Spencer can really speak to this, that like as a player, you really got to bring all of your energy yourself, and it comes from your bench. And just watching these games out here, that it is really something to like watch these kids who will never get into the game, like the bench warmers, are just fired up and jacked up and just going about it. So that's kind of been neat for me to see. So I don't know if it means more to them this year, but it's definitely something that they'll remember for a long time.
Yeah, you watch, I think it kind of started last year in the bubble and watching guys on the bench, and then it kind of the ball starts rolling downhill, and the coaches start giving those guys more and more credit for the energy they bring. And it really is almost like a role that never really existed before, that now has a lot of value for teams, whose guys, like you said, guys that will probably never sniff the court, who can bring the most energy, who can, tap into the right wavelength to get the guys that are out there playing. Because as a player, whether you're at home or on the road, you're feeding off the fans in one way or another to get you going, especially when you get kind of in that middle end of the season and you're running on fumes. So it is a testament to all the players and the coaches and everybody that is going through that process, is adjusting on the fly and trying to figure out how to create an atmosphere when there is none, in a situation that we've never seen before.
Percy, it's got to be a surreal feeling there without the fans. I mean, just from personal experience, I go back to one of the first Seahawks home games of this year, and it came down to that last play, Cam Newton trying to score a touchdown from the 1-yard line, and it was a totally empty stadium. But before that play, you heard everybody on the Seahawks sideline hooting and hollering and waving towels. And it's just, what is going on here? Like, that's literally what my reaction was. It's so surreal because you can picture the fans, but it's just so strange that you can hear everybody on the sideline.
It really is just like that. Like, just being as to where we're sitting, right, as like spectators, one of the few, like literally you can count almost on a few hands how many spectators are inside of the building. You hear everything. And I don't want to sort of give it away, but there was a technical at the end of the game because everyone heard what the coach was yelling. I mean, there was no secret. It was a bleep, and it's like, okay. And so, yeah, like you hear all of that, and kind of going back to what Spencer was saying, though, it is really kind of cool to watch whose bench is gonna get into it. Like, and it's it's hard to gauge energy, but it is a weird thing. Like, who brings their own energy forward? And it goes back to the team that really wants to be there is usually the team that's going to win.
It's the teamwork on a whole different level this year, that camaraderie, that energy, and it's definitely kind of one of the bright spots, the fun spots to watch for as we watch our teams moving forward. And we hit on a lot of different things there about the Pac-12 tournament this year and how different it is. But also this year, Powerhouse Arizona not playing in it, giving themselves a self-imposed ban on postseason play. How do you think that's kind of factoring in to what you see in this conference and kind of that whole situation?
Well, a self-imposed ban this year, that's going to turn into an NCAA and Pac-12 ban for the next few years going forward, I'm sure, after all this stuff with Sean Miller came out. So I just want to clarify that there, because I'm not expecting to see the Wildcats in postseason play for a few more years.
Yeah, I think it was a good effort by sweaty Sean to try and get out in front of it. But the hammer is going to come, whether it's in the next couple months. They're going to have to pay the piper and reconcile their sins. And it's unfortunate because the conference, it's like USC in football. There are these, as much as, as consistent as the Huskies were until a couple of years ago, and the stretch we had in the 2010s where, more or less dominated the conference. If you go back historically, it really kind of boils down to the Wildcats and the Bruins. And when you don't have them kind of carrying the torch and being that national brand on the basketball side, it's hard enough getting eyes on our conference to begin with. And when you don't have them catching the attention from the rest of the country, it definitely casts a shadow on the conference as a whole.
I totally agree that, as much as, other teams in this conference want to take down Arizona or would like to see Arizona fall, they need Arizona up there to kind of be that straw man. Look, it was just 10 years ago when Washington had those great battles with Arizona, right? They played 3 times that one year, and we all still remember where we were when Isaiah Thomas hit that shot against who? Arizona, top-seeded Arizona, in the, 2011 Pac-10 tournament then. And look, Arizona is, has kind of been that team. And so when they're not here, it makes a big difference. And, it takes away during the season, it takes away one of those tier 1 type of opportunities that these teams in the Pac-12 sorely needs. And so it's unfortunate that something's going to happen to them. Yes, we think that the hammer's coming, and so we think that they're going to take a step backwards. Now, it just remains to be seen that who fills that void. I haven't seen it yet, and I don't know how much we really want to go into kind of where this the state of Pac-12 basketball is right now, but it ain't great.
I would like to dive actually into that, Percy, and look kind of a bigger picture now, because obviously the focus this week is the Pac-12 tournament. But then moving past that, we've got the big dance. We've got the NCAA tournament, March Madness, which we missed last year. Do you think any Pac-12 teams have a chance to get going in this tournament and maybe make a name for themselves?
Well, I'll tackle the first one. Yes, I do. But it's going to be difficult. And the team that I think it will be Oregon, simply because if you know anything about Dana Altman, his teams get better towards the end of the year. They just do. For some reason, they start slowly and they can slowly build and build and build. That has a lot to do with how he forms his programs. He brings in a lot of transfers, and it takes them a while to start gelling. But once they do, bam. The thing that's going to make it difficult, not just for Oregon, but for every sort of these Pac-12 teams that are going into the tournament, is that they're going to have such a bad seed, right? I mean, I'm thinking at best, maybe somebody gets a 6 seed, maybe a 5, but that's at best. And so you're looking at somewhere between, 7, 8, 9 seeds. And when you're seeded that low, it's hard to make a run.
That's a great point. It's an uphill battle where it's no matter how well you're playing going in and what kind of momentum you have, you kind of get stopped dead in your tracks before you have a chance to really get those couple momentum wins and start going downhill. It's unfortunate for the conference. I won't be sad seeing the Ducks lose whenever they inevitably do, but it kind of gets back to the bigger picture of the perception and the brand that is the Pac-12 and the national perception of the conference from a basketball standpoint. Like we said, when we don't have those Arizonas and when UCLA is not at the top, it really filters down and it hurts the rising tide effect. None of the schools, whether traditionally the powerhouse or not, get a benefit from that.
Let's not forget about the Huskies, by the way, back in they were the 11 seed and they beat the number 6 seed in the first round, and then New Mexico, the number 3 seed, to make it to the Sweet 16. That was a fun year. I remember that because it's been so long since the Huskies actually were in the tournament, aside from last year. There's that long gap there. I won't talk to the Pac-12 specifically, but I think, like everybody else in general, I'm a huge fan of the NCAA tournament. I was organizing bracket pools in elementary school. I was watching these games in teachers' rooms at recess and lunch. So, to take the tournament completely away from us last year was a huge bummer. I don't think anybody will ever take it for granted going forward. It's a truly unique tournament. So the fact that it's back this year in any form and all of it being in Indianapolis, I'm just happy that it's back. Do I want it to be like this every single year? No. I'm going to be really excited when Seattle gets to host a couple of rounds in a few years. But to see these games kind of makes me want to go to Vegas and plop down at a sports book, socially distance with other people, and kind of feel that energy again, because I know it's coming. And whether or not we get it this year, we'll know it. Hopefully we'll be back next year.
what I wouldn't give to be in Las Vegas right now. Socially distanced, of course, with a cocktail in hand. Before we wrap things up, guys, I want to get one more topic in. Aaron made a good point there. The tournament's all in one site as opposed to being around the country before it ends in one specific place. Thoughts on how that will go? How, do you think we're going to see any teams have to disqualify themselves because of COVID and not being able to fill a full bench, fill a full starting lineup, that kind of whole thing? And what do you guys expect, obviously, in a couple weeks when the tournament gets going?
I'm a little, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think at a certain point, it is just a numbers game that there's going to be a victim. Hopefully it's not one of the teams that's a favorite, unless it's Gonzaga, but they already had their outbreak. So I think, unfortunately, it's going to come up, but I do like them being proactive and kind of going to the quasi bubble idea early. And, if you're going to have a college basketball tournament, what better place to make the host city than Indianapolis and take advantage of all the history that is associated with that part of our country. Yeah,
I'm kind of as well cautious to make any type of prediction as it pertains to can they get this done. I think that they've made it this far. I think that they have great protocols in place, and I think so many people are committed to pushing this across the finish line. And so, but still, that's going to require some great coordination all across the board. You're bringing in a lot of teams to a very tight space. So I'm here for it. I want to see it. But unlike Spencer, I do kind of want to see what the Zags can do, because this is it, right? This is like 6 more wins, and here they are, undefeated. Mark Few has been here before. Is it his best team? I don't know, but I definitely want to see, can they finish the deal finally?
They needed that game in the championship of their conference tournament against BYU to be down by 14 points and have to fight back. The amazing thing is, talking about smaller rosters, I know they have a fantastic lineup and talent-wise front to back, but you take a look at the box score last night, I think only 7 players totally played in the entire game. I mean, they had all 5 starters out there, and they only had 2 guys in the rotation that came off the bench. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's what the box score told me after the game. And so they had to keep that sort of same rotation in to be able to fight back in a game like that. And interesting to see whether they'll have to do so in the tournament as well.
Absolutely. A lot of fun basketball still to be played, to be watched, for us to be cheering on. You guys, that does it for us for our hot takes from the sidelines. But I really appreciate all the insight and you guys joining us today. Up next, we've got trivia time as we go on the clock with Aaron Levine.
Well, we're now joined by Evan, who wants to win a steak tonight. Evan, how's it going, and where are you from?
It's going wonderful, Aaron. I'm from Tacoma.
Nice. Well, shout out to Tacoma, not far from where I'm right now. Love you representing the Seahawks and the Mariners. Big fans of both teams, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Well, tonight you got to beat me outright. Each of us has a minute to answer as many questions as possible. These questions are provided by the Fish, Jeff Aaron's Fame Trivia USA. You can check them out at Fame Trivia USA on Facebook. You are going to go first, Evan. I'm going to switch headphones right now, and I'm going to turn on a little bit of a metro station. Shake it, so you're going to hear it right here. I'm going to take this off and put these on. Our Jessamine McIntyre is standing by. So, Evan, good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Evan, are you ready to be on the clock?
Let's do this.
Okay, let's do it. In 3, 2, 1. Movies of the 80s, what gift does Molly Ringwald's character give to Judd Nelson at the end of The Breakfast Club?
Never seen it. Pass.
What is the title of the book that is a sequel to The Adventures of Tom Sawyer?
Oh, the Huck Finn.
With obviously ice hockey as one, what is considered the other national sport of Canada?
Curling.
What is the name of the TV movie production company created by Jeffrey Katzenberg, David Geffen, and Steven Spielberg?
Pixar.
Christina Yang, Izzy Stevens, and George O'Malley were all surgical interns on what TV show?
Grey's Anatomy.
Which spice was married to David Beckham, the soccer player?
Oh, Victoria.
Gotta give the spice name.
Posh, sporty. That's all I know.
She has written over 180 books, selling 800 million copies, making her the best-selling fiction author of the 90s, fourth biggest selling of all times. What is her name?
Judy Bloom. That's not it.
No, it's not. And your time is up, Evan. Okay, and here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Movies of the 80s. What gift does Molly Ringwald's character give to Judd Nelson at the end of The Breakfast Club?
Pass.
What is the title of the book that's a sequel to The Adventures of Tom Sawyer?
Huck Finn, Adventures of Huck Finn.
With obviously ice hockey as one, what is considered the other national sport of Canada?
Lacrosse.
What is the name of the TV movie production company created by Jeffrey Katzenberg, David Geffen, and
DreamWorks.
Christina Yang, Izzy Stevens, and George O'Malley were all surgical interns on what TV show?
Scrubs.
Which Spice was married to David Beckham, the soccer player? Need the
Posh.
Spice. She has written over 180 books, selling 800 million copies, making her the best-selling fiction author of the 90s, fourth biggest selling of all time. What is her name?
Nora Roberts.
In what film did this line become famous and oft repeated? You had me at hello. You do get to answer this.
Oh, Jerry Maguire.
Okay, that will do it. And Aaron, you have won 5-3.
Good match, Evan.
Good match, man.
We're going to send you a Q13 Fox coffee mug your way. So is that a platinum? Is a gold record behind you or what?
Yeah. My dad, Roger Fisher, was actually in the band Heart.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I should have played Heart tonight.
Hey, maybe next time, man. You didn't know.
Well, speaking of 80s, and obviously I wasn't a fan of the big 80s pop culture because I didn't get the Molly Ringwald Breakfast Club question, but I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm going to go rock out to Heart later tonight.
Cool, man. Have a great night, Aaron. Thanks you, Justin.
Again, the answer is Molly Ringwald gives her diamond earrings to Judd Nelson at the end of The Breakfast Club. The Adventures of Huck Finn is the sequel to Tom Sawyer. Lacrosse is the other national sport of Canada. DreamWorks is the production company of Katzenberg, Griffin, and Spielberg. Christina Yang, Izzy Stevens, and George O'Malley were characters on Grey's Anatomy. Posh Spice is married to David Beckham. Danielle Steele is the fourth best-selling fiction author of all time. And You Had Me at Hello is a line from Aaron's favorite movie, Jerry Maguire. Let's bring Aaron in now. And Aaron, I am going to give you a hard time for not knowing Grey's Anatomy. I mean, come on. It takes place here in Seattle, but we're going to bring back something fun that we haven't had for a couple of weeks because March Madness is finally here. And I want all of your picks for the weeks in Against All Odds.
Izzy was the giveaway, and I couldn't get it just on that short notice. I'm really frustrated about it. I will remember that going forward. And you also had me at hello, Michelle. Great to be back with you, especially for March Madness. Here are some games I really like on Thursday night. Take Seattle U straight up against Cal Baptist. I think the Red Hawks can really make a run in the WAC tournament this year. You heard Percy talking about Oregon, but I think 8.5 points is too much to give up, especially with that big win by Arizona State over Washington State. So take the Sun Devils plus 8.5. I used to work in Bakersfield, so full transparency here. It's the only reason I'm taking the Runners against UC Davis -3. I also like Texas Tech laying 1.5 against Texas and Boise State laying 4 points against Nevada. It does it for March Madness, Michelle. I'm all over it. Not wait for the big bracket to be revealed on Sunday and for us to make some picks going forward next week.
Oh, absolutely, Aaron. I know we're all going to be super excited, especially after missing it last year, to get our brackets all filled out. It's just always such a fun thing, even if you're not that into basketball. It's just fun. Well, that does it for this episode of Just a Bit Outside, presented by WaFd Bank. Join a best bank, and remember that you can find all episodes of Just a Bit Outside at justabitoutside.fox and wherever you subscribe to your podcast. That includes Apple and Spotify. A huge thanks to Spencer and Percy for joining us here on the show. For Aaron Levine and our entire production crew, I'm Michelle Ludtka. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.